I love Emma. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about her or what I did. I know that I can't be forgiven, and this will never be forgotten. But now that the truth is out, I pray that it's enough to show that I never meant to take Emma's life.
Even when he says he loves Emma, Riley manages to make it all about himself. His narcissism and level of manipulation are shocking. But to poor Emma, who was only 14 when she met him, Riley was a good partner, whose only fault was loving her a little too much.
Because he had a way of isolating her and making her think that he was the only one.
Emma's story is a wake-up call about how dangerous toxic relationships can be, teenage or not. As we look at what happened to Emma, we'll see the red flags she missed and how her boyfriend's controlling behavior got worse over time. But we'll also see so much worse. What Riley decided to do on that November night still haunts Emma's family, and Riley's too. No one could believe a shy high school football star could harbor so much hatred and cruelty. You guys, it's about to get really dark, but Emma's story needs to be told. Her death cannot be in vain. This is the tragic story of Emma Walker and Riley Gaul. On a chilly November morning in 2016, in a quiet suburb of Knoxville, Tennessee, the Walker family's world was shattered forever. Jill Walker went to wake her 16-year-old daughter Emma for school, only to find her unresponsive.
What's going on there? I've been trying to wake my daughter for school, and she's been told, she's 16. You said that she's unresponsive?
Emma Jane Walker was more than just a victim. She was a kind, loving young woman with her whole life ahead of her. Born in 2000, Emma grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Knoxville is a rural community. There's a lot of mountain folks around here.
Knoxville is also a lot about sports.
Fridays, everybody's excited at school to see how well we do. It's what our school revolves around, so it's exciting.
And Emma was a part of this community. Emma quickly became known at her school and in her large family for her infectious smile and kind heart. Her presence was a beacon of positivity, drawing people to her with her warmth and enthusiasm for life.
Emma really took cheerleading seriously. She really loved doing it, it was one of her passions. She loved leading and she loved football games.
As a student at Central High School, Emma both excelled academically and socially. She was an honor roll student, demonstrating a keen intellect and strong work ethic that set her apart from her peers. Her dream was to be a neonatal nurse, a goal that spoke volumes about her caring nature and desire to help others. Her mom, Jill, remembers how proud she was when she became a cheerleader at the age of 14.
She was the only freshman that made it, so she was very tickled with herself.
Emma's commitment to cheerleading wasn't just about the sport itself. It was a reflection of her loving personality and her ability to uplift those around her.
Emma was very kind and warm-hearted, but she was goofy too at the same time.
She could do the worm. All of her other moves were kind of like, okay, Emma, you should probably stop now.
Emma also loved animals, regularly volunteering at local animal shelters. The dedication to helping others, whether human or animal, was a cornerstone of Emma's personality. It spoke to the maturity and empathy beyond her years, qualities that made her loss all the more devastating for those who knew her. Emma's relationship with Riley Gaul began like many high school romances, full of excitement and promise and the thrill of first love.
Was he the classic jock in high school?
No, he's a little nerdy on the side. A little to himself, kind of. From the outside looking in, you just think he's just a normal guy.
Riley, a popular football player 2 years her senior, seemed like the perfect match for a vivacious cheerleader. He was gentler and shyer than most people expect a junior football star to be, and everyone thought these two went together like bread and butter. Their social media seemed to confirm it too. Emma's parents, Jill and Mark Walker, initially approved of Riley.
A boy next door. He came in very polite, very nice in the beginning.
I thought he was a very nice-looking young man, well-mannered.
But Emma was only 15 at the time, so her family wanted her to only spend time with Riley at their home. Taking it slowly was the safest, they thought. And for a while, they applauded themselves for letting Emma follow her heart. She would write, "Look how lucky I am," and show her cuddling with Riley almost every day. However, as time went on, cracks began to appear in the facade of their perfect relationship. Friends and family started noticing troubling signs that hinted at a toxic dynamic where Riley was manipulating young Emma.
What concerned you?
That he didn't really have any interest in getting to know her friends, and he kind of became controlling over her, what she did, her activities.
He got more possessive and more clingy towards her and, wouldn't let her do certain things.
Riley was slowly chipping away at Emma's autonomy and self-expression. First, he would tell her what not to wear. Then he began discouraging her from spending time with her friends. This isolation tactic is a common feature of abusive relationships, designed to make the victim more dependent on their abuser. Another troubling aspect of their relationship was Riley's need for constant communication. He would incessantly text and call Emma, expecting immediate responses. This behavior went beyond the normal desire to stay in touch, veering into obsessive territory. It was as if Riley needed to monitor Emma's every move, to know her whereabouts and activities at all times. Perhaps most alarming were Riley's dramatic mood swings. His behavior towards Emma would swing wildly between affection and anger, leaving her constantly on edge, never knowing which version of Riley she would encounter. This emotional roller coaster is another hallmark of abusive relationships, keeping the victim in a state of constant anxiety and uncertainty. And then came that classic high school dynamic, where they would break up and get back together every few days.
They were really dramatic, I would say, just because it was usually just like yelling at each other or just like harmful words towards each other.
The relationship did not seem healthy at all. They argued fiercely and then they sort of made up fiercely, but it was always drama.
Some of Riley's comments are unspeakably cruel. On one occasion, he told Emma she was dead to him. This is another example. A Snapchat he sent her. "I hate you. I hate everything about you. You're the biggest I've ever come into contact with." You guys, if someone you're dating sends you messages like this, that is a huge red flag. This kind of language is never okay in a healthy relationship. It's not just rude, it's emotionally abusive. Someone who truly cares about you would never talk to you in this way, no matter how angry they are. This kind of talk shows a lack of respect and is often a sign of deeper issues like controlling behavior or anger problems. If you're with someone who speaks to you like this, it's time to run.
Riley didn't speak to her the way that a guy should talk to a girl.
On one occasion, saw one, "I'll see your name in the obituary."
He wrote that
He
to
wrote
her?
that to her. And we questioned him about it. He said, "I was just angry." That's when it started to get many more red flags.
At this point, Emma was a victim, but she was too young and too kind to confront Riley once and for all. For starters, her parents did it for her. They banned Riley for coming to the house and took Emma's phone temporarily, hoping to curb the obsessive texting between them. Or better said, if Emma couldn't respond to Riley's aggressive demands, they were hoping he would back down. But he didn't.
Riley gave Emma an iPod Touch, and she texted him through the Wi-Fi.
And with every offensive text he sent, Riley made sure he countered with a dramatic apology. It's exactly this hot and cold tactic that keeps victims bonded to their abusers. Emma wanted the hot Riley, the kind, loving, apologetic one, and she was so desperate to see that side of him that she was willing to overlook the evil Riley. Except these people don't really come in two personalities. It's the same cruel one behind both faces.
Because he had a way of isolating her and making her think that he was the only one.
The Walkers even confined their daughter to their house, only allowing her to go out for school and cheerleading. And for a bit, Emma seemed happy again.
She did become like her old self again. She would come out of her room, eat dinner with us, socialize with us.
So you were seeing your daughter reemerge?
Yes.
In the fall of 2016, Emma finally reached her breaking point. After enduring months of controlling behavior, emotional manipulation, and the strain of a relationship that had become more of a burden than a source of joy, she decided to end things with Riley for good.
She just came to the realization that she deserved better, like this wasn't a good relationship, so she broke up with him. And then we were all like, yes, finally, like it's happening, like what we've been waiting for.
This moment of clarity and self-assertion is often a critical turning point for victims of abusive relationships. It represents a reclaiming of personal power and a recognition of self-worth that abusers often work hard to erode. However, Riley was not prepared to accept Emma's decision. For him, the end of the relationship represented a loss of control, a challenge to his perceived ownership of Emma. His reaction to the breakup would prove to not just be alarming, but ultimately deadly. Riley's behavior in the wake of the breakup escalated alarmingly, moving from manipulation and control to outright stalking and terrorizing. One of the most disturbing incidents occurred on November 18, 2016, when Riley orchestrated an elaborate hoax designed to frighten Emma and position himself as her protector. He faked his own kidnapping, sending Emma disturbing messages from an unknown number.
She's like, Zach, I'm getting these really weird text messages. Come outside alone if you don't want to see a loved one get hurt.
This was one of the texts. I've got someone you love. If you don't comply, I'll hurt them. Then there was this. He's in the ditch beside her house. It's a shame you can all of a sudden not value someone else's life. These messages were calculated to instill fear and anxiety in Emma, making her feel vulnerable and in need of Riley's help. The very next day, Riley's campaign of terror continued. A figure dressed in all black was seen lurking around Emma's house, ringing the doorbell and trying to get in. Emma, terrified, reached out to Riley for help, not realizing that he was behind this scare tactic. By creating a threat and then presenting himself as the solution, he was attempting to make Emma feel dependent on him for her safety. In the days leading up to Emma's death, Riley's behavior became increasingly frantic and obsessive. He bombarded Emma with calls and messages, making over 60 attempts to contact her on November 20th alone. This, by the way, is another common tactic used by abusers to wear down their victims, to make them feel that they cannot escape the relationship. The escalation of Riley's behavior following the breakup is a textbook example of why leaving an abusive relationship can be the most dangerous time for a victim. When the feels they are losing control, they often resort to increasingly extreme tactics to regain that control. Emma's decision to end the relationship was a brave one, a step towards reclaiming her life and her independence. Tragically, it was a decision that Riley could not accept, setting in motion a series of events that would ultimately lead to Emma's death. The night of November 20th, 2016 began like any other in the Walker household. Emma had finally settled in for what should have been a peaceful night's sleep, although she was not at peace. Throughout the previous day, she had been bombarded with abusive texts from Riley and someone she thought was a stalker trying to get into her house. She even messaged Riley to come help. She still did not believe he could be doing this. In the early hours of November 21st, Emma's father, Mark Walker, was awoken by what he thought were the doors slamming in the house. Concerned, he got up to investigate the source of the noise. He checked on his children, including Emma, who appeared to be sleeping peacefully. Reassured, Mark returned to bed, unaware of the tragedy that had just unfolded. What Mr. Walker heard were not slamming doors, but gunshots. A horrifying truth that would only become clear in the harsh light of the following morning. While the Walker family slept, Riley Gaul had crept into their backyard armed with a 9mm pistol he had stolen from his grandfather. In a final despicable act of control and violence, Riley stood outside Emma's bedroom and fired 2 shots through the wall.
First round from the back of the house struck her right behind the ear, behind the left ear, killing her instantly in her sleep.
The bullets pierced through the exterior of the house, tearing through drywall and insulation before entering Emma's room. One bullet struck Emma in the head as she slept, killing her instantly. The other bullet lodged in her pillow. The following morning, when Jill Walker went to wake Emma for school, she found her daughter unresponsive. At first, Jill thought Emma might be ill, but as the horrifying reality set in, the family's world collapsed around them.
What's going on there? I've been trying to wake up my daughter for school. And you, Nicole. Oh,
that unfolded in the Walker home that morning was one of unimaginable grief and shock. Paramedics were called, but it was already too late. Emma was pronounced dead at the scene, her life cut tragically short by an act of senseless violence. As investigators combed through the crime scene, the full horror of what had happened became clear. 2 bullet holes in the walls of Emma's bedroom told a story of premeditated murder, and everyone the detectives spoke to had the same name to give: Riley Gaul. If you guys didn't think that Riley was disgusting enough by now, watch what he does next. As news of the murder spread and shocked Emma's loved ones, Riley Gaul took to social media to play the role of a devastated former partner. He posted a heartfelt message. "I love you, Emma. I can't be around any of that yet. It's too soon. I know you. I'm dying to be there, but understand I can't. I love you." Here's another one. "It's surreal to think the woman that made my world spin, that made my smile bright, that gave me a reason to get up out of bed every morning to tell you that I love you. You're my rock, my hope, my love. You're everything a person could wish for. I'll never forget those times we talked about our future and what kind of dog we'd get and how awesome our family would be." A few hours after posting this on Twitter, Riley got arrested and charged with Emma's murder. Here's what got him caught. Firstly, Riley's grandfather reported his 9mm Glock pistol missing the day before Emma's murder. The timing of this report, combined with the type of weapon used in the crime, raised immediate suspicions about Riley's potential involvement. Secondly, cell phone records placed Riley's phone near Emma's house at the time of the shooting. This crucial piece of evidence contradicted by Riley's alibi, in which he claimed to have been elsewhere at the time of the murder. The discrepancy between Riley's story and the objective data provided by his phone records was a red flag for investigators. Thirdly, Riley's behavior in the days leading up to and following Emma's death was deeply suspicious. He had even asked friends about removing fingerprints from a gun. Then, there were all the accounts from Emma's loved ones. This guy was a walking, talking red flag, and he had been terrorizing Emma for 2 years now. As the investigation progressed, police made a brilliant tactical move. They enlisted the help of Riley's friends, Noah Walton and Alex McCarty, to set up a sting operation. The friends, likely grappling with their own shock and disbelief, agreed to cooperate with law enforcement in an effort to uncover the truth and seek justice for Emma. Riley was blasé. He showed no sadness for Emma's death. Like he'd done his tearjerker posts, and he was bragging about never getting caught, as the police were not smart enough to link him to her.
They don't of anything, because if they did, I would be in jail right now.
And when Noah and Alex asked him about what happened, he said this.
She killed herself because of me and Karen's, or she just killed herself because of her parents. But she didn't kill herself, she did.
Oh! So she fired the shot from outside the house that pierced through the wall and entered her bedroom, right where her head would be? Riley was arrested that day. A search of Riley's car following his arrest yielded further damning evidence. Police found black clothing that matched the description of the man in black who had terrorized Emma just days before her murder. The discovery provided a crucial link between Riley and the stalking incidents that had preceded Emma's death, painting a picture of a calculated campaign of fear and intimidation.
Police arresting Gaul Tuesday night on charges of first-degree murder, holding him on $750,000 bond after having him under surveillance, saying he was preparing to destroy evidence related to the homicide.
As news of Riley's arrest spread, the community's shock deepened. Many who had known Riley as a popular football player and seemingly ordinary teenager struggled to reconcile this image with the accused murderer now in custody. The disconnect serves as a stark reminder that those capable of DV and worse do not often fit the stereotypical image of a criminal. Riley Gaul's trial began in May 2018, a year and a half after Emma's tragic death. The courthouse was filled with Emma's family, friends, and community members, all seeking justice for the kind soul whose life had been cut short so cruelly. The defense, faced with overwhelming evidence of Riley's presence at the scene, opted for a strategy that focused on intent rather than denying his own involvement outright. They argued that Riley had only intended to scare Emma, not kill her. According to the defense, Riley was trying to set up a scenario where he could come to her rescue and win her back. This argument, while acknowledging Riley's culpability in Emma's death, sought to paint it as a tragic accident rather than as a premeditated murder. However, the prosecution countered this argument effectively, pointing out the level of planning that went into the crime. They highlighted Riley's theft of the gun, his knowledge of Emma's bedroom layout, and his previous stalking behavior as evidence of premeditation. Throughout the trial, Emma's family and friends provided emotional testimony about her character and the impact of the loss. These heartfelt accounts served to humanize Emma, ensuring the jury understood the full weight of the life that had been taken. Even with oodles of evidence against him and the trial happening 2 years later, Riley pled not guilty. He was still not ready to accept responsibility. After days of testimony and arguments, the case was handed over to the jury.
What is your verdict? Guilty.
Riley Gaul was found guilty on all counts: first-degree murder, stalking, theft, reckless endangerment, and possession of a firearm during a dangerous felony. The courtroom erupted in a mix of emotions: relief, grief, and a sense of justice served.
There's no high fives in a murder trial. There's not any celebrating going on. Emma's still gone.
The judge, moved by the evidence presented at the impact statements, sentenced Riley Gaul to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 51 years. This means Riley will be 71 years old before he can even be considered for release. But with his level of remorse, it's hard to see him ever get out. The verdict and sentencing brought a sense of closure to Emma's family and the community, but the pain of her loss continues to resonate. Riley's conviction serves as a stark warning about the potential consequences of obsession, control, and violence in relationships.
I wish, I knew more what was going on, so maybe I could have helped her, and I'm so sorry.
Dr. Grande analyzed Riley's psychology and identified several troubling patterns that emerged over the course of his relationship with Emma. He notes that Riley displayed many characteristics associated with vulnerable narcissism, including insecurity, vulnerability, shame, aggression, self-centeredness, and a sense of entitlement. One of the most alarming aspects of Riley's behavior was his inability to accept Emma's decision to end their relationship. This rejection seemed to trigger an escalating pattern of controlling and manipulative behavior. Dr. Grande explains that for individuals with narcissistic traits, rejection can be experienced as a profound threat to their sense of self, leading to extreme reactions. Riley's actions in the day leading up to the murder, the fake kidnapping, the man in black incident, and the flood of messages all demonstrate a desperate attempt to regain control over Emma. Riley's decision to shoot through the wall of Emma's bedroom may have been a final twisted attempt to exert control. By ending Emma's life, Riley might have felt that he was reclaiming the power he believed she had taken from him by ending their relationship. Dr. Grande also touches on Riley's behavior after the murder, particularly his social media posts expressing grief and his initial denials to the authorities. He suggests that this could be seen as an attempt by Riley to maintain his image and avoid consequences consistent with narcissistic traits. An interesting point raised by Dr. Grande is Riley's apparent lack of understanding of the consequences of his actions. Despite knowing he was facing life in prison, Riley seemed shocked and unprepared for this reality when arrested.
I wanted to scare her, to frighten her so bad that she would have no choice but to talk to me again, to confide in me. I would be there to comfort her and to win her back. I loved Emma. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about her or what I did. I know that I can't be forgiven, and this will never be forgotten. But now that the truth is out, I pray that it's enough to show that I never meant to take Emma's life.
Riley's narcissism is so bad that even when he told the judge he loved Emma, he used it to re-explain that he never meant to take her life. It was all still to his benefit. He wanted a lighter punishment for his heinous actions. Emma's story became a shocking tragedy, but also a story about recognizing red flags early on and moving away from people like Riley before it's too late. Before we say goodbye, I must say this again, you guys. Controlling behavior is not a sign of love. A partner who tries to dictate your choices, isolate you from friends and family, or monitor your every move is displaying unhealthy controlling behavior. Riley's persistent attempts to rekindle his relationship with Emma, even after she had clearly ended it, were not romantic gestures. but a form of harassment. Emma's story also highlights the importance of taking these threats seriously. Any threats of violence should never be dismissed or minimized. Riley's ominous messages to Emma were precursors to his eventual violent act. It's crucial to report such threats to trusted adults or authorities. And hey, trust your gut. If something feels wrong in a relationship, it probably is. Ask for help and prepare your exit with as little drama as possible. Indeed, it is a sensitive matter. You can't stay with a person like Riley, but if you break up with them, you risk even more violent retaliation. Emma was taken while sleeping in her own home. What's safer than your home? Emma tried to save herself, and so did her loved ones, but no amount of support kept her safe. It's a tragic reminder that sometimes terrible things happen to good people. In the wake of Emma's death, the Knoxville community rallied together to honor her memory and work towards preventing similar tragedies in the future. The community helped found the Emma Walker Memorial Scholarship. This scholarship supports students pursuing careers in nursing, honoring Emma's dream of becoming a neonatal nurse. By helping other young people achieve the goals that were taken from Emma, this scholarship ensures that her aspirations continue to make a positive impact on the world. Emma's Law was also proposed in Tennessee, aimed at strengthening the penalties for stalking and expanding the definition of DV to include dating partners. This legislative effort recognizes the need for legal framework to better protect young people in dating relationships, addressing a gap in existing DV laws that often focuses on married couples or cohabitating partners. Local schools implemented new programs to educate students about healthy relationships and the warning signs of dating violence. These initiatives aim to equip young people with knowledge and skills to recognize toxic behavior in their own relationships and those of their peers. By fostering open discussions about these issues, schools are working to create a culture where relationship violence is neither normalized nor tolerated. In honor of Emma's love for animals, local shelters organized adoption events and fundraisers in her name. These events not only supported a cause that was close to Emma's heart, but also serve as a reminder of her compassionate nature. And Emma's family has gotten a dog park and an NICU patient room at East Tennessee Children's Hospital named after Emma. Jill said, "It's all things that are a part of Emma and all mean something. I hope people will remember her by being kind to others." Yeah, let's continue Emma's legacy by promoting kindness and trying to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe to the best of our abilities. Emma deserved better. Her death cannot be in vain. Hey, thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on this tragic case? Do you know similar stories you'd like me to cover? Let me know in the comment section, and before you go, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you soon, and stay safe.